After the heartbreaking loss of her son Matthew, Diane's world was turned upside down. But what followed were signs and experiences that reminded her that Matthew was still close, watching over her and sending her love in ways she never imagined. In January 2014, Diane Calderon's life changed forever. Her son Matthew tragically passed away in a hit-and-run accident while walking his dog near his home in Phoenix, Arizona.
The phone rang, and it was a detective from Phoenix to tell me that my son Matthew had died the night before. My whole world changed immediately. Long story short, Matthew had been out that evening, had headed home, picked up his dog, and was walking the dog over to the dog park, which was just not even a block away from the house. Residential neighborhood. Matthew's crossing a street, and he gets hit by a car. Hit and run.
Matthew had been working tirelessly on renovating a house he planned to sell, a project that brought him joy and a sense of purpose. Just hours before his death, Matthew spoke with Diane, sharing his excitement about his plans and reassuring her he would visit soon to help her care for her husband, Sal, who was battling advanced Lewy body dementia. The night Matthew passed, Diane experienced something she couldn't explain. As she sat at home, she saw sparkling lights appear inches from her face. They drifted toward Sal, lingered briefly, and then moved toward a book on the coffee table. Diane picked up the book and opened it to a page discussing how souls choose their parents before birth, a topic she and Matthew had recently discussed. At the time, she didn't fully grasp the significance of these lights. The following morning, Diane received the devastating news. Matthew had been killed the night before at 7 p.m, the exact time she saw the lights. In that moment, Diane realised the sparkling lights were a sign from Matthew, letting her know he was okay and still present, even though his physical body was gone. This realisation, though comforting, came amidst the overwhelming grief of losing her son. Diane longed for more signs from Matthew, hoping for reassurance that he was still near. In this audio clip, you can hear her calling out to him, a heartfelt plea that many who have lost a loved one can likely relate to.
As I was sitting at the table, I thought, oh my gosh, Matt, I can't believe this is happening. You were just here the other day. We just had this discussion. Do you remember, Matt? Do you remember? We were talking about how if something should happen to one of us, and I said, I'll probably die before you, but just saying here, if one of us should die, the other one has to promise to come back and give a sign. You have to give a sign. Matthew, where's my sign? And then it dawned on me, I had that sign that night, the night before, when I saw those lights. That was my sign. I had asked the detective, what time did this accident happen? He said 7 p.m. That was the time I saw those lights. I knew then and there that that was a sign from Matthew, that he hadn't really died. He was just no longer in that body, that Matthew was over there on the other side and had sent me that sign at the moment he passed. I didn't connect the dots or the lights at the moment it happened, but 24 hours later, boom, it's hitting me. That was Matthew. That realization that my son reached out from across the veil to tell me he was fine, that everything's going to be okay, changed my whole life.
The days following Matthew's death were some of the hardest of Diane's life. She struggled to comprehend her loss while also caring for Sal, whose condition was worsening. Amidst her sorrow, Diane began to notice signs, moments that felt like messages from Matthew. One of the signs occurred on the morning she learned of his passing. As Diane drove to retrieve the morning paper, a flock of bluebirds appeared flying alongside her car. Bluebirds were not native to the area, and Diane had never seen them before. The sight of the birds brought her an unexpected sense of peace, and she began to associate them with Matthew, interpreting them as a symbol of his presence. Bluebirds continued to appear during significant moments in Diane's life. On the first Christmas after Matthew's passing, Diane sat on her bed, overwhelmed with grief. She looked outside and saw bluebirds eating berries from a bush near her window. Moments later, a blue jay appeared, turning to look directly at her as if to say, "I'm here, Mum." The timing and vividness of these encounters left no doubt in Diane's mind that Matthew was sending her these signs. Rainbows also became a powerful symbol. Shortly before his passing, Matthew had described a beautiful drive where sunlight played on the mist, creating small rainbows. After his death, Diane discovered a photo of Matthew holding a rainbow, a picture they had staged years earlier. This image became the centerpiece of Matthew's celebration of life and a recurring reminder of his presence. Rainbows would appear at key moments, such as during family gatherings or when Diane needed reassurance. One particularly emotional moment came when a rainbow appeared during a workshop Diane attended, as if Matthew was affirming her path. Diane also received signs through music. Shortly after Matthew's death, she found a journal in his truck. On the last page, he had written the name of a song, "I Will Wait" by Mumford and Sons. Diane listened to the song and felt an immediate connection. Its lyrics seemed to convey Matthew's message to her, that he was waiting for her on the other side. This song began to play at meaningful moments, often when Diane thought about Matthew or discussed him with others, further reinforcing her belief that it was his way of reaching out. Diane's husband Sal was a brilliant man whose life had been deeply affected by Lewy body dementia. Despite his cognitive decline, Sal experienced moments of lucidity in which he saw Matthew. He once told Diane that Matthew had visited him with Sal's late mother and assured him he would be there to guide him when his time came. These moments gave Diane immense comfort, knowing Matthew was helping Sal prepare for his transition. The night before Sal passed, an owl appeared outside their window, hooting persistently. In Native American culture, owls are often seen as messengers guiding souls to the afterlife. The following day, Sal passed peacefully. Diane later saw a hawk outside their home, which she interpreted as a symbol of Sal's soul taking flight. Hawks continued to appear in Diane's life, becoming a sign of Sal's presence and their enduring connection. Diane's grief after losing both Matthew and Sal was overwhelming. She described feeling as though she had lost her entire world. Yet the signs she received from them became a lifeline, helping her to move forward and find purpose. These signs, from sparkling lights to bluebirds, rainbows and music, reassured Diane that the connection with her son didn't end with his passing. Through her journey, Diane became a Reiki master and a certified evidential medium, channeling her grief into helping others connect with their loved ones. As Diane developed her mediumship abilities, Matthew frequently came through during readings and practice sessions. He often acted as a doorkeeper, helping her connect with other spirits. He also communicated through her voice, occasionally saying "Mom" or providing guidance during readings. Today, Diane shares her story through her book, Living and Loving Life All Day, Every Day, and as a speaker and teacher. Her journey offers hope to those grieving, reminding us to pay attention to the signs that may be all around us. These are my thoughts, and they may or may not resonate with you. As I think about Diane's story, such as the moment Matthew passed, she saw those sparkling lights. It wasn't hours later, not the next day, but the exact moment. That alone is incredible. Then the bluebirds, the rainbows, the music, one sign after another, always appearing when she needed them the most. It's as if Matthew was reaching out, making sure she knew he was still with her. But what really stands out to me is how easily these moments could have been dismissed. If Diane hadn't been open, she might have brushed them off as nothing. And I wonder, how many of us do the same? How many times do we experience something unusual, something that tugs at our heart, and yet we convince ourselves it's just a coincidence? What if it's not? What if it's our loved ones trying to remind us that they're still near, still watching over us? Have you ever received a sign from a loved one or a pet who has passed? If so, I'd love to hear your story. Share your thoughts or experiences in the comments below. And if you have a personal story you'd like to share, check the description for details on how to send it in. I'd be honoured to feature it. Be sure to keep an eye on my channel. If you've ever lost a loved one or a pet, the stories I share may bring you comfort and reassurance. Until next time, take care, stay open to the signs, and remember, you are never truly alone. Bye for now.